Welcome back. This is the Rachel Maddow Show here on Air America Radio. In troubled times, what America really needs is experts. We all need experts. It is actually one of the most refreshing things about the new administration that President Obama has actually hired people who appear to be trained and educated in the fields in which they will be operating, as opposed to, say, the Judges and Stewards Commissioner for the International Arabian Horse Association being appointed to run the Federal Emergency Management Agency, por ejemplo. So Barack Obama brings in his experts to run the government, and I bring in a different kind of expert. John Hodgman is the resident expert at The Daily Show. He's the author of 2 very important books on facts and truths and information, the areas of my expertise, and more information than you require. You may also know him as PC from the Mac and PC ads for Apple. He joins us now to answer a few very important political questions about the unknown. Hello, Mr. Hodgman.
Good evening, Dr. Maddow.
It's nice to see you.
And you as well.
Have you? Were you excited about the inauguration? Have you had a post-inaugural high?
It didn't. You know what? It didn't set in until David Rees stopped doing his comic strip, Get Your War On.
You're breaking
honestly,
news here.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, he's promised for a long time. David Rees is a political cartoonist who started doing a clip art comic that featured 2 guys in an office talking about the war on terror very early.
Accounts receivable.
Yeah, exactly. In October of 2001. He's also a friend of mine. And so, I sort of absorbed the inauguration as best I could and sort of left me speechless like I think everybody else who cares about such things. Mm-hmm. But it didn't really sit in because David had promised that as soon as Bush left office, he would stop doing the comic strip. And so when I finally checked his comic strip that day, indeed, it was completely blank. He was done.
Wow.
And then I went out to see him read last night in Dumbo. And he read from the comic strip, and then he would do it with these transparencies. He would show the comics on a screen with an old-fashioned overhead projector.
All right.
And these transparencies that he's been showing for, 7, 8 years now. And he just threw them away after. He was just throwing them into the audience. He's done completely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get Your War On has been one of the most cogent political commentaries of the entire Bush era. I mean, it's been the most succinct, cogent, aggressive commentary that has been sustained in that way.
Right.
I think that I know of.
It's one of the. It was an amazing, brilliant commentary, and funny and hard and cathartic in its own way. And it was cathartic to see him throw those things away. But I have to say, it's one of those things you're really glad it's going, but you're sad to see it go too.
But if Obama leaves 130,000 American troops and 150,000 contractors in Iraq, and he doubles the number of American troops in Afghanistan, and we start turning into Soviet demisistan there, it's going to have to be Get Your War Back On. He's going to have to start again.
You'll have to take that up with David, I think. Too many numbers.
Yeah.
And then I went out for drinks with David afterward. Now I'm horribly hungover. So that's what the inauguration feels like to me, this mix of amazing emotion, things coming to an end that you hope to see come to an end, something new starting and you don't know what it is, and this general feeling of hangover. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the hangover is obviously literal and physical in your case, but it is also... I mean, the first countdown show with Keith Olbermann after Bush was sworn in ended with, it has been X number of days since the declaration of mission accomplished in Iraq.
Correct.
And Keith said, what, you thought that was going to end? No, the troops aren't home. Keith also does a segment called Bushed, which is about the ongoing Bush administration scandals. It's still Bushed.
Right.
I was doing Lame Duck Watch on MSNBC. That has now converted to Scrub, Rinse, Repeat, which is about trying to not miss a spot as you clean up after the Bush administration.
It's hard to wash a duck due to its renowned water repellent qualities and the biting beak. So you see.
Also, it just makes us nudgy to touch feathers.
As much as I will, you can wash all your clothes. If you have duck on your clothes, forget it. They're greasy animals and they don't come out easy.
You are an expert. I sort of feel like before Bush was gone, before we saw Marine One fly over the National Mall with everybody shaking their fist at it and booing, we thought that it would be a question between looking forward and looking back, whether we would look back at the Bush administration at all, or whether it would just be big new Obama era. Now that we are in the new Obama era, it's clear that you don't have to look back to see the effects of the Bush administration. They're still right here. This is all the stuff we still have to work on.
Oh yes, we're living them every day. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I have a cocktail.
Every now and again.
Well, It's a new dawn, and a cocktail, as you know, was originally a morning drink.
That's yeah, I guess, because it was all about
there
bitters.
are theories. There are theories
No,
that it was a small medicinal pick me up that you would drink in the morning when the rooster crowed. Get it?
Cocktail.
Cocktail. That doesn't exactly follow, but that's one of the many competing theories for why.
I love that there's no real history of booze, because the history of booze was occurred and would have been chronicled by people who were hammered.
Yeah, history is written by the winners. History of booze is written by the drunk, and it's about equally reliable.
Exactly. It's therefore indecipherable for different sticky reasons.
Right.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
But you know, I'm not actually drinking a cocktail. But if I would enjoy the famous antique cocktail, and I'm sure you're familiar with the Oath of Office.
The Oath of Office.
You familiar with that?
No.
No, no one is apparently.
What do you think about the fact that Yo-Yo Ma wasn't really playing? I mean, he was really playing, but what he was playing was not the sound that we heard.
That did not scandalize me at all.
Really?
No, because I used to be a violist and a clarinetist.
Really?
And even as I was watching, I'm like, those guys cannot be playing in that cold. It's just, as a clarinetist, first of all, I'm a happily married guy, but Anthony McGill is the handsomest clarinetist in the world. Do you know what I'm saying?
No offense to you as a clarinetist, but clarinetists are not known for being hunky.
That guy has an embouchure on him, let me tell you. And I was like, there's no way he's playing out in the cold, because that clarinet would be completely out of tune. It would be impossible to keep those instruments in tune in that kind of weather. Well, so that made sense to me when they explained it. But then it made me wonder, what were they playing? Trash instruments that they don't care about?
What I want to know is, A, was any damage done to the instruments that they were playing, even though it was not being broadcast? And B, can we hear what they actually played? Did they actually record what they did play?
Yeah.
I bet it sounded awful.
Well, I don't know. Probably whoever was bootlegging it, whoever tapped into the sound booth there, probably has a bootleg that'll be on the internet in 2 seconds.
Napster. No, not anymore.
Yeah, but that's Anthony McGill's real clarinet, because you noticed it was two-tone. A sweet clarinet. That's a LeBlanc Legacy clarinet made in Canada.
Are you making that up?
No, it's true. I was like, why is that clarinet two-tone? So I asked Twitter, and they told me.
You're kind of the king of Twitter.
No, I'm not.
No, you are.
Stephen Fry is the king of Twitter. Well, really, Leo Laporte, the tech people, really, Veronica Belmont have huge followings on Twitter. I'm not the king. I'm like a duke. I'm a viscount.
Well, you're the fanciest tweeter I know.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're the highest ranking Twitterer.
I prefer the term Twitterer.
Yeah, the tweet thing didn't really catch on.
No, but actually it's catching on quite well. I mean, the thing about the Twitter is that people make up their own rules, and suddenly it's gospel. So tweet has become, de facto singular noun for a Twitter.
Yeah.
But the guys at Twitter are like, we never thought of that. It's completely self-generated.
I like the idea of a twit.
But Anthony, what's that? Yeah, absolutely. A single twit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works.
Mr. Hodgman.
What?
Caroline Kennedy is not going to be the next senator from New York. It's going to be this very conservative Democrat named
How do you feel about
Gillibrand.
that?
I don't know what conservative Democrats are for.
Yeah. It's true.
Seems like we've got Republicans. I don't know
who do that pretty darn well.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I don't have anything against Kirsten Gillibrand.
They're for getting themselves elected in very conservative but traditionally democratic.
Right.
Places.
And so when the thing you're doing is excusing somebody from the responsibility of having an election, you're just giving them a job. It seems like that's the thing for which you really don't need a conservative Democrat.
Right. And I thought it was surprising that David Paterson, governor of New York, was openly saying, I'm looking for a woman instead of the best person for the job.
Right.
I mean, and he picked a woman who could not have been further sort of diametrically opposed to what Caroline Kennedy represented.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it kind of is like, what are the qualifications exactly?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Available, and you pay taxes on your nanny, and you're female.
Well, also, it is long before it was before it was Hillary Clinton's Senate seat, it was Bobby Kennedy's seat, and so therefore to have picked a gun rights champion.
Oh yeah,
that's a little awkward.
That's an awful irony, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to bring you down with your hangover. And
no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm in the perfect mood to contemplate such things. But isn't it amazing that people I don't know. There's these rumors that maybe Caroline Kennedy had a undocumented worker of some kind or what have you, and this just happened with the Geithner, the secretary or the designee. Is he now the secretary?
No.
Because there's going to be some trouble with that too, right?
I don't understand why. I mean, I don't know a lot of people who are in the upper echelons of the Washington establishment.
Right.
Why can't
Or
they?
the New York
why
establishment.
can't they legally hire people to work for them? Is it
it's just
hard to do?
Well, I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's just common to be hiring people who are undocumented and do not wish to be documented for
Right.
one reason or another. And it happens so commonly you don't even notice it. I mean, when you think back, I mean, with Caroline Kennedy, I don't know whether or not this is true, but certainly a lot of people have gotten into trouble recently, and you would think by now they would stop doing it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to proceed in politics, that would be something that would be on your checklist to maybe fix before it became an issue. But people don't even notice because I think it's so culturally ingrained. In the same way, it's like it never occurred to Sarah Palin to say maybe Levi Johnson shouldn't get an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not saying that she arranged that to happen, but it looked bad. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, he didn't have a high school diploma. By federal regulation, he couldn't have the apprenticeship he had, and yet he got it anyway because his dad worked on the North Slope oil fields.
Right.
And that probably never occurred to anyone in Alaska that was a problem because I'm sure that's just what happens all the time.
I think it maybe just means that there are no cultural expectations around workers' rights. Like we don't ever think about them. We don't think about employment law.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe in a time when that was more politicized and where the people who do politicize that, the labor movement,
Right.
have more power, maybe
Right.
there would be more expectations around that.
I think just within a closed community of whether it's wealth or a far-flung state or what have you, I mean, the mores of that community become invisible to that community. You don't even think that it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That sort of casual contempt for workers, for example, or
Yeah.
sort of workaday nepotism. Or, for example, the idea that we might appoint someone to a normally elected position simply by virtue of their last name, even though that person has no legislative experience, even though we fought a war in order to get away from rule by family dynasties. Like, we still kind of like, sure, why not?
Sure, Lord Kennedy,
Really, we're not
or
sort
whatever.
of not able to realize, why that's not. But sort of someone has to come along and point it out. It's like, that's not really a good idea, is it?
That's why comedians are very important.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I was going to say radio broadcasters and television personalities.
Grass is always greener,
Well,
Mr.
hello.
Responsibility Pants.
Cheers. I wanted you to take care of this.
One last question for you.
Yes, you may.
The Arizona Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Steelers
Who are
will
they?
be they are football teams American football teams who will play in the Super Bowl.
Really?
The Steelers have a really good defense.
Right.
And the offense on the Cardinal side is helmed by a quarterback named Kurt Warner, whom God sides with.
English, please. Barack Obama gets up there and says, we're going to restore science to the public square. Do you know what I mean? It's like this grand restoration of critical thinking over sort of ham-fisted cliches and everything else. This is the nerd ascendancy. And yet Dark Knight still gets snubbed in Best Picture, and you're still asking me about sports. Like, we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. But what is
Vigilance, America!
Who's in the sports contest again? I have no idea.
It doesn't
Steelers
matter.
versus...
It's yellow versus red.
Steelers versus what? What's the other one? The Cardinals?
Cardinals have God, Steelers have defense.
I'll go for Pittsburgh.
All right. Excellent. John Hodgman is here. He knows everything. He's the resident expert on The Daily Show. He's the author of The Areas of My Expertise and More Information Than You Require, and he is a very, very good drinker. This is The Rachel Maddow Show. We'll be right back. Thanks, John.
Thank you.